Back-to-back race weekends and back-to-back episodes for the first time in a very long time. I'm here with William again today. Unfortunately, Ben can't be with us because a power line has fallen near his house, meaning he doesn't have any Wi-Fi. But Will is here to join me nonetheless. Will, how are we doing?
I'm all right. I just feel bad for Ben because it's just one thing after another. Bless him. I mean, I just feel awful because he seemed really up for doing today's pod, and sent the message to the group chat, and I was just like, oh, bless him. That is such a shame. But we will fly the flag again, Ollie. We will fly it.
We will indeed. I mean, we will have to go without predictions again for the second week. So we're going to have 3 rounds worth of predictions going into next week. Next episode.
Did you activate your double points weekend as well?
And I done horribly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Ben will ridicule me for that next time out. But before we get into the Formula One action, there was feeder series action. And if you keep up to date with our TikToks and our Instagram reels, I covered it in a very lengthy TikTok/reel about what had gone down this weekend. And I mean, the action did not seem to stop. We started off the weekend with Formula 3. Now, going into the final round, I think there was a possible 6 or 7 contenders that could have won the championship. Obviously, with the pole, you get an extra 3 points, sprint race win 10 points, and the feature race win, you get 25 points. And then if you add the 5 slaps to that, an extra 2 points over each race. So a massive amount of points to be won. And Leo Fornaroli, the championship leader going into the weekend, did take the pole. Now, the sprint race was fairly interesting. Off the top of my head, I cannot tell you who won, but the main action came on the Sunday in the feature race. And I mean, it's a race for the... Will, have you seen any of it?
I know it was last lap, last corner, last ditch, basically, into Parabolica, and just full send to win to win a Formula 3 title. It was incredible. I can't remember who it was.
So, unfortunately for us, the British lads didn't do brilliantly. Luke Browning spinning out in the first few laps, and Arvid Limbrad just couldn't make his way up through the field, unfortunately. So we were left with 2 fighting at the top of the grid, being Gabriele Mini and also Leo Fornaroli. Now, Fornaroli went into the feature race with a 5-point lead, 3-point lead at the top of the standings. And coming into the final lap, Mini was in second, Fornaroli was in fourth, Christian Mansell was in between the two. And as it stood at that point, Gabriele Mini would have taken the championship until the last corner. So going around Parabolica, Leo Fornaroli knew the championship had just fallen out of his hands, sent a last-ditch move down the inside of Christian Mansell, as you said, on the last lap of the last race, the last corner of the season, sends it down the inside of Christian Mansell, goes on and wins the championship. Honestly, I don't remember the last time. Well, I mean, we had Lewis in 2008. Obviously, there was a whole thing in 2021 where it was kind of like it, but it wasn't last corner. Lewis was in 2008 was last corner. It was, I mean, I know it's 2 series down, but still, to win a championship in that fashion, and I think it means he's the first Italian to win the Formula 3 championship as well, at Monza, it was so special. And Mini's face on the podium, bless him, he looked heartbroken. But it could have been even worse. I covered all of that in the TikTok. It could have been even worse. Because if things had stayed as they were, with Mini in second and Fornaroli in fourth, Mini would have won the championship. However, a few hours later, after the race, Mini was disqualified from the race for having an illegal car. Now, imagine if he had won the championship and then been disqualified after the race having an illegal car. The uproar would have been...
That'd have looked really bad on the sport as well, though. Like it always looks really bad when someone's disqualified. It really does.
Yeah,
That
I
could be.
mean, as the season's gone on in both the feeder series, there's been a lot of disqualifications. Obviously, Kushmini and Gabriel Bortoleto with the Invicta at the start of the season seem to keep on getting disqualified for reasons not down to themselves, but it was down to the car and the way that the team had designed it, and then obviously sent it out on track, and it wasn't deemed legal and whatever. So yeah, it is unfortunate we see these things happen in Formula 2, but the rules are there for a reason, and Formula 3, I should add, but the rules are there for a reason. Going into Formula 2, I mean, I think first of all, we should talk about Kimi Antonelli a little bit. Going into not only his second technically home race in Formula 2, because obviously we had Imola early on in the season. But yeah, I mean, he had his first FP1 session on the Friday, done a brilliant first lap, and everyone thought, wow, this kid's got it. Came back in, done another flying lap, and ended up in the wall at Parabolica. So, what did you make of that?
I mean, we said it. We kind of knew. We didn't know it was coming, but we said, "Oh, how cool would it be if he's announced as the next Mercedes driver at his home?" As it's more Monza's more of the home of when you think about, like, you know how we've got like 3 races in America and 2 in Italy. Like, I always think of the actual USA Grand Prix is Texas, and the actual Italian one is Monza. Like, I know we go to Imola and I know we go to Vegas and Miami. I just think that the other 2 are more prominent. But yeah, I think it was very poetic, and I think he, a bit of overconfidence. He decided he was just going to go for pole in FP1 after 2 laps and binned it into the corner, and it was, yeah, it showed the lack of inexperience, but at the same time, it was like, oh, okay, this kid with a bit of training, with a bit of like fine tuning, he could seriously be something. But again, I don't know what he's going to be like next year, and he'll probably need a year. I wouldn't expect him to come straight into F1 and win any races. I think it would take him at least half a season to even get on the podium. In fact, I would be, I'll throw it out there now, I will be shocked if Antonelli gets a podium at all next year. Or even, yeah, actually, I was going to say in the first 10 rounds, I think if Antonelli gets a podium at all next year, it will be impressive. And that's not me doubting him. That's just me saying that with the amount of, think about what's going to happen next year, what's already happening this year, what cars are on the grid next year, and also he'll be completely raw into that car. So it would be very impressive if he does, but I don't think he will do, because I think he needs a year to just settle. And I don't want you, as a Formula 1 fan, you can't expect him to come into the sport and instantly start challenging at the top, and you're going to have to give him time. It's like when Russell first joined Mercedes, you're going to have to give him time. But I think it could be good. I like the idea that they've gambled with youth. I like that, but you have to put faith in it. And faith is not something that's commonly used in F1, but it will have to be this time. That's how I see it anyway.
I think the main person that's had to have faith in Kimi is Toto Wolff. I mean, he seemed very relaxed even when Kimi shunted, he was like, "Oh, don't worry, Kimi, it's fine, don't worry about it." And it was funny because even in the press conferences afterwards, and I don't know whether it was afterwards or before the session that Kimi done, Toto said, the problem we have with him isn't with trying to get him up to speed, it's the problem with trying to slow him down, which, I mean, in a way could be seen as a bad thing, because it's kind of like, okay, he's too aggressive. But in another way, you look at it as like, okay, well, he's coming up into Formula 1. He's clearly got the speed for it. He just needs a bit of fine tuning. And I mean, the fact they're taking the gamble, I absolutely love it. I was calling for him to be the one going into the Mercedes seat from the start of the season. I'd never watched him in Formula 2, and I said, I think he probably will have the Mercedes seat going into 2025. I'm glad I was right about that. But yeah, no, I'm really, really happy for him. Brilliant that it was announced at Monza as well. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, I totally agree.
How long do you reckon it was in the pipework? How long do you reckon it was decided? Well, actually, Toto Wolff said it was decided 5 minutes after Lewis told him he was leaving. But I don't fully agree with that. I think that's more of a PR thing. But how long do you reckon it was actually decided before someone went, oh, let's do it at Monza? How far down the line? I reckon Silverstone. I think Silverstone.
His first win in Formula 2 in dominant fashion in the sprint race in the rain. I think that kind of, because leading up to that point in Formula 2, I've said it time and time again, at the start of the season, he started really, really slowly. And I was really thinking, I don't get all the hype around this kid. Like, he's not got that special factor about him. Yes, the Prema has been a very bad car this year in Formula 2, but that doesn't discount the poor performances he had at the start of the year. Coming into Silverstone, that sprint race win, that was one of those moments. I mean, you look throughout all of the Formula One grid, but you look throughout all of the feeder series grid as well. As a driver, you've got to have that one like special moment, that one thing that makes everyone go, wow. That one sprint race in Silverstone was that one moment, and I truly believe as soon as he crossed that line in Silverstone, it was already a matter of, right, how long do you want to stay at the team for? Not a matter of, do you want to sign? I reckon it was Toto had literally put a contract down on the table for him and said, sign it and we'll put however many years that you want on. And I think it could be I think it could be a brilliant future for Mercedes because they've got a young driver in George and also now an even younger driver in Kimi. One thing that I did find funny was he said, I've been dreaming of this moment since I was a boy. And it's like, you're only 18. You're still a boy.
Yeah, facts. For him to say still a boy makes us feel like ancient, to be fair, which is weird to say. But yeah, I think that he's going to be some talent. But like I said, you've got to have faith. Someone else who's come from F2, Franco, is it Colapinto? It is how you spell it. It's how you say it, or Colin. Yeah.
Colapinto, now, yeah.
No points on his debut, but P12. And we're used to seeing Albon in the points and Sargent in 18th.
Or in the pit.
That gap shrunk down quite a bit. You know, P12 on paper, you think P12 is, you know, it's at the points. It's not that good, but for Williams' second driver, that is something to be. You know, that's not far off. That is not far, and I don't think he was that far off P11 or 10. And some of the moves he made were really like tidy. There was some like smooth overtaking. Like he wasn't barging his way through. He wasn't bashing his way through. He wasn't making outrageous moves. It was smooth, calm, controlled overtakes, and it was refreshing and weird to see. It was very weird to see.
Yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from. I'll get back onto the other discussions of Formula 2 in just a second, but we'll discuss this first because I mean we need to talk about it. I think one thing that is really, really telling from this weekend and that I found really interesting is I was looking at the times through FP1, FP2, FP3, qualifying and the race. Obviously, qualifying was a bit of an anomaly, but all his times, he wasn't really anywhere more than 3 tenths away from Alex at any time. And obviously, I mean, you obviously know it, Will, as a driver, your biggest rival is your own teammate. So you need to try and stay in touching distance or be ahead of them whenever you possibly can. And the fact that he was pretty much setting really close lap times to Alex was phenomenal. Bearing in mind, he obviously has done a test in FP1 in Silverstone in the Williams, so he has got experience in a Formula 1 car. But for your first full race weekend, he done phenomenally well to keep up with the pace of Alex. I mean, Alex has been in the sport since, I want to say, 2018, 2019. So to keep up with someone that's got 5-6 years experience in the sport and be as close as he was, I mean, it was brilliant. But I think one of the key points to take away from his drives this weekend was there were so many moments that I looked at it where everyone would look at it and go, oh, well, he's just another Logan Sargent. When he's gone off into the gravel, made these mistakes, everyone's just going, oh, well, he's another Logan Sargent. But the thing that I found different for Franco compared to Logan is Franco kept it out the wall. I mean, he went on at Parabolica, slammed on his brakes, kept it out the wall. I feel if that was Logan, he probably would have gone into the wall. In qualifying, he also went off at the second Lesmo into the gravel. I mean, drivers done that all weekend in every single series.
Yeah.
Again, he kept it out the wall.
Mistakes.
He saved the car.
Yeah, the mistakes he was making, it wasn't unnatural like we'd seen. You see people go off at Parabolica all the time. But Mylander went off at Parabolica. It's completely standard. But I think it was a breath of fresh air, and definitely it could be not a turning point for Williams, but like a bit of a boost towards the end of the season, especially as they fight the bottom places for the constructors.
Definitely. I mean, they certainly look like got the pace there this weekend. I mean, if they can carry that on, that'll be fantastic. And if Franco can keep up these performances, obviously Monza is probably one of the more favourable tracks to make your debut at because they pretty much race there at every single level of motorsport coming up through the feeder series.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's great to see him in a Formula One car, but at the same time, it's a bit unfortunate to see him being dragged out of his Formula 2 car because he's currently still sitting sixth in the championship on, I think, 92 points. And it would have been brilliant to see him finish the season, but at the same time, I think putting him in the car was probably necessary. But just to round off the feeder series bit before we get onto all the Formula One stuff from this weekend, I mean, it was something that we've never really seen before. Well, we haven't seen before. I mean, I want to say quickly before I move on to this driver, just want to quickly say congratulations to Zane Maloney's first ever pole position in Formula 2, and then also to Ollie Beerman getting his second win, I believe, of the season in the sprint race on the Saturday. So another driver that's getting a promotion to Formula 1 next season. So finally, the feeder series is getting drivers pushed into Formula 1, and I am so here for it. Also, quickly before I come onto the race, I've seen a rumour today that apparently Teo Pourchaire could take the Sauber seat for next season, and I am on my knees begging for this move to be done because, it would be brilliant to see him in the Formula 1 seat.
Did he get kicked out of IndyCar? Did he get kicked out of IndyCar?
He did, yes, but it was through McLaren. And I mean, if you follow IndyCar in any kind of element, McLaren basically chop and change their driver more than Red Bull do in Formula One. So I wouldn't take that dropping out of the McLaren seat for anything, to be honest. But yeah, going back onto the Formula 2 stuff, Gabriele Bortoleto on Sunday, you may argue, okay, yeah, he got favoured by the safety car, but you've still got to be there to win it. And to win in the fashion he did was phenomenal. Coming from 22nd on the grid to first in 30 laps, and then have a gap of 10 and 11 seconds at the end of the race is truly phenomenal and a brilliant performance. Obviously, the McLaren junior driver as well. This season, he is really putting in a good shift. I mean, the Formula 3 champion from last year coming up into Formula 2, and I mean, he's right in the title fight for the F2 championship. He's currently on 155.5 points with Isaac Hadjar in first on 165. So it is getting really close with only 3 rounds to go, I believe, but an absolutely phenomenal drive from him. And if I'm honest, if the way things keep going for him stay as they are, and if this tension at McLaren keeps on going, I could see him in that McLaren seat in 2 or 3 years' time, and I am so here for it because he is phenomenal.
It depends. I think if that was going to happen, it would be Norris leaving over Piastri. But yeah, like you said, it's nice to see the feeder series is now promoting these drivers. We're actually giving the people who deserve these opportunities the opportunities they have earned through their accolades collected in Formula 2. And it is nice to see it's a breath of fresh air for the sport. I think we're going to have, three or four F2 debutants next season?
So
F2 drivers?
yeah, well, it'll be Antonelli, Bierman, Colapinto won't be there, unfortunately, because obviously Carlos Sainz has got the seat in the Williams.
Yeah, but if
Who am I,
Porsche gets
who am
it,
I
I still
saying?
count Porsche.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
count Porsche. If Porsche gets the power, I would still count Porsche because he hasn't. It's not like he's gone from F1 to IndyCar. He never made it to F1, but he's still done it in F2. Do you know what I mean? He still has that title. So I think that'll be 3, which is already very impressive. But yeah, that going to be interesting with McLaren, isn't it? It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, now, I mean, a lot has been said on social media over the past 24 hours about the actions of McLaren during the race and before the race as well, and after the race, about how their team is run. Now, Lando Norris is currently second in the championship. Oscar Piastri is fourth in the championship. And Lando...
Yeah.
Pardon?
I believe he is. I'm going to take a quick look, actually, because I want to see what the gap is after this weekend.
I think I know. I think Norris is about 40 something points behind. It's low 40s and 60s.
No, it's not. 62.
62 points behind. And then Oscar is 100 points behind Max. And then Leclerc in the middle is, I want to say, 70 points behind Max at the top.
Oscar is 106 behind, and Leclerc is Leclerc is 90. Sorry, Leclerc is 86 behind.
So, I mean, all 4 of those drivers are very much in contention for the championship. And my argument to everyone that's been saying, why didn't McLaren put team orders in and tell Lando to go past Oscar going into the end of the race to give Lando more points to put a stable fight towards his championship? My argument to that is, I get where you're coming from, but when Lando was 100 points behind in the championship, behind Max, albeit with 2 races more than what we are now, everyone was saying Lando's in a title fight. Can Oscar not be held in the same regard? Oscar's 100 points behind. Is he not in the title fight? No one's mentioning that. And as Lando has said himself in the post-race press conference, he has said he doesn't want team orders to be in place. He's here to race. He doesn't want drivers to just be moved aside for him. He wants to race.
The thing is as well, when you look at it, what could have been for Lando this weekend? So going into this weekend, it was 70 points exactly. It's now 63. It could have been, what did he get, 16? He got 16, yeah? Add another 8 onto that. No, not 8, sorry. Is it 8? No, it's 9, sorry. Add another 9 onto it for 25. That would have meant it would be 53. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 2 race wins and 2 fastest laps, and you're a point behind. Or that's 2 race wins and a decent result in a sprint weekend. I feel like, and I know they've covered this up for the cameras, because we've had 2012 toxic McLaren before, but I know behind closed doors, Lando Norris is fuming. He is fuming because going into this race weekend, Max Verstappen qualifying 6th and they're openly coming out and saying that they don't have the pace they once had. Red Bull are dropping back. Max saying they're currently the 4th fastest car. Do you know how crazy that is for Red Bull? For Red Bull to turn around and say we have the 4th quickest car. That is a joke, and for McLaren to come away with a slight, I wouldn't even say a dent. I'd honestly say it's a scratch. A slight scratch in Max's title race is a joke. It's so disappointing. It's so disappointing.
So what do you think they should do? Because obviously there was obviously Zach Brown was getting interrogated pretty much by Will Buxton and
watching Zach Brown get cooked by Will Buxton and Nico Rosberg was fantastic. There's a video clip as well of Zach Brown's talking about it, the team orders. Will Buxton, literally, you see Will Buxton just roll his eyes because it is pure waffle. They're on about, oh no, we don't want no driver. We don't want a driver to. We have equal drivers. They're both on equal terms. They came in together. They know where each other stand. They've helped each other, and it's like, but at what point do you start putting them in and start thinking, okay, we now have 8 rounds to go. It's less than 60 points. You know, Oscar, lay off it, son. I mean, fair play to Oscar Piastri. Do you know, someone said, I think it was Rosberg who said this, Nico said this. I think Piastri's attitude has been affected a lot by Mark Webber. Webber hated the number 2 title. He hated it. He hated being number 2 behind Vettel. You know, it's the whole not bad for a second driver. I think he said to Piastri, because remember, he's Piastri's agent. I think he said to Piastri, do not take any slack from them at all. You are just as good, if not better, than Norris. Do not let them bully you, because you like you said, it's only 100 points. If we're saying Norris is in the title race 100 points back, why isn't Piastri? So I think Webber is saying to him, don't take any slack. You have just as much right as Lando does. And I personally agree.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, as I keep saying time and time again, Oscar has won the Formula 3, Formula 2 and Formula 4, even for that matter, championships back to back to back. There is a reason he has done that. He should not be a number 2 driver in any team. Yes, I get the argument of if they keep fighting just between themselves, then it is going to be a situation where Red Bull somehow manage to escape with winning both well, not both, because I mean, let's be real, they're not going to win the constructors now. But there is
you say that they had the chance to do it this weekend. They had the chance to do it. They had a 1-2 all they needed was a 1-2 or a 1-3, and they would have overtook him. But instead, they're now 4 points behind still. You can't just keep throwing it away. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, as an objective standpoint, watching it as a fan, with no, I don't really favour any team. I mean, obviously I'm wearing a Williams t-shirt right now, but I don't really favour any team in regards to who's fighting for the championship. I kind of just like watching it for racing. And the fact that we're in this position now where we've got the fastest team in McLaren having 2 of the best drivers currently on the grid and still not knowing who's number 1. I mean, from my point of view, and just sitting back and watching it as a racing perspective, it is phenomenal to watch. It's so exciting. But if you look into it as what we've been saying, is looking at it as how McLaren are going to cope with this and what's going to happen in the Drivers' Championship, it's really not doing Lando any help, or Oscar for that matter, because Oscar could still somehow come out of nowhere and win this championship. But no matter what happens, I think we've got a brilliant end to the season. But social media has been driving me mad with, I mean, I want to say this. I don't want it to be
Hi, Steph.
seen as. I don't want it to be. I don't want to say this as disrespectful or anything, but the LM4 fans are becoming the new LH44 fans, and it is driving me nuts.
I stay off F1 Twitter. I can't hack it anymore. I honestly am going to say this. F1 Twitter has got worse than football Twitter. And I'm a Man United fan saying that. Like, football Twitter for me is like, I go on there, I get personally abused, and I haven't even said anything. It's that bad. My name pops up as being active, and every single other fan base is just cooking Man United. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'll get off football Twitter now. I'll go on the trackside Twitter and just see what Twitter's. I go on that, and I'm like, oh my Christ, this is worse. It's so bad. F1 Twitter is actually, and I think F1 Twitter, and do you know what I actually think killed F1? Killed F1 as a spectator sport, to the fact where we now have people booing other people in stands. Like, did you see that at Silverstone? Like, some girl who was wearing a Red Bull top got like not abused, but like verbally abused and stuff like that by like people in McLaren tops and Mercedes tops. Like, the sport should not get to that. There is no way the sport should get to that. There is not one team or another. There is 20 drivers, 10 teams. You pick and choose who you want. You can literally support anyone. Like, it doesn't matter. But like, for God's sake, I love that Sauber car. I love Sauber for no reason, just because the car's nice. But you're not going to hear me turn around and go, get rid of RB, sack him. No, the sport should never get to that. And what has obviously caused that is 2021. The battle between Lewis and Max in 2021 spiked that. Now you've got the Lando fangirls getting across it. Team LH are bored, so they're jumping on a bandwagon. The Max lot are still the same. And then you've got the Ferrari lot who are upset because they have no idea what their strategy team's doing, but pop up every now and again once Ferrari actually do something. And it is incredible to watch as a neutral because you have no idea. It's brilliant.
The racing's brilliant, but social media, I mean, it's become like football Twitter, and it's really not nice to look at and nice to watch. It's kind of like you're looking at it every day and you're like, why are people arguing over the most stupid? I mean, I was saying this to my brother the other week. So someone had taken a video of Max in Zandvoort when he was going round. I do not know what corner it is, but he was going around one of the corners, and he had a bit of oversteer and a bit of understeer, and they were saying, oh, look, this guy can't drive. And it's like, hold on a minute. Scott McLaughlin, who is obviously, he won in IndyCar yesterday, he's a fantastic driver in the sport, then went and retweeted it saying, I don't know how you can say this, you've never driven a Formula One car or a open wheel race car before. And the guy responded with, who are you? And it's like, well, do your research before you say, have a go at some of the best drivers in the world and say, well, who are you? You don't know what you're doing, when you're literally sitting on Twitter saying anything you want. It's like,
Keyboard warriors.
It's become a minefield.
It is keyboard warriors. It's crazy. And I mean, to be fair, when stuff like this happens, where you've now got McLaren fans going at each other because it's split between Norris and Piastri. Brilliant, fantastic to watch. Self implosion is lovely because it's the thing is, like, if you I can't remember what the phrase is. It's from the Avengers or something like that. It's like, if you kill a kingdom from the outside, it will rise again. But if you kill it from the inside, it will never start. And like, that is what McLaren are doing. The self implosion will absolutely kill them off. Whereas if they don't sort out the number one, number two driver and have at least some team orders to say, where we are right now is pretty vital, let's not mess this up, they will self-implode and never get this chance again. If they do sort it out, they will come close and only build together. there's two paths. It isn't a maybe. You can't. There is no tightrope. There is no both drivers are equal anymore. You have to pick one or the other. Otherwise, you will not get anywhere. And Zach Brown has got a hard choice to make because I don't know who is the stronger option. You can't pick between it. Also, Lando Norris, when is it gonna end? You are now 007 in terms of poles to laps led. It's how are you 007? I, yeah, it's yeah, something like that. Oh, it's danger. Again, it's dangerous because it's your teammate. But what's stopping him? There's no team orders. But because of that, both of them could have been out at that corner. Literally, there's nothing stopping both of them from crashing at that corner, and it needs to be sorted. And what is crazy about this, and I think this is what everyone knows, we are talking so much about what could have been for McLaren and what could have been the outcome of this weekend that it overlooks completely the sheer achievement of the person who actually won it. Like it's because it's that much of a hot topic about what could have been for McLaren and how they are their own worst enemy. We completely overlook the fact that Charles Leclerc won Ferrari's home race for the second time and in some style. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's just so good. And it was so incredible. But I just want to give a special mention. Carlos Sainz. You want us to talk about team player? That man has no loyalties to Ferrari anymore. They threw him out. They threw Carlos Sainz out. Said, "Look, listen, it's coming to an end. We want Lewis. You're gonna have to make do. Come the end of the season." He had no right to put up such a battle like he did for those McLarens just so Leclerc could win. He had no reason to do it, but he done it because that is why that man is the GOAT. I love him. He is no reason to do that at all. And I think if it weren't for him having at least the tiniest of, I think it was only 1 or 2 laps he defended for, but those 1 or 2 laps that adds up. That really does add up because that's the difference from Leclerc winning to Leclerc finishing third, and it's huge. And like you said, the Italian national. There's something about the Italian national anthem. It's just fantastic. It's just it's just so upbeat. It's so upbeat, and yeah, I just think I think as soon as have you heard the Italian commentary, by the way? Oh, mate. Yeah, yeah. It wasn't 2019. It was 2022. 2022. They won it as well. I'm convinced because I was thinking the same. It was like 2 years ago. No, I swear in that piece of commentary it says it was 2022. They didn't win it in 2022. Who won it in 2022? Oh well, I've had a blunder there. I have had an absolute blunder. Oh right, well that's good enough for me. Um, it's the best outcome. It's the best. And then again, I don't think anyone's. I don't even think Ferrari themselves know how they done it. Like I reckon when Leclerc, I reckon, I reckon when Leclerc crossed the line, even Ferrari were looking around going, "Eh, eh, how?" Well, when they pitted Leclerc, even he came over the team radio. Went, why have we done this? There was no danger of this. What's gone on? Like we've literally pitted for no reason. And then the final, and the checkered flag, he apologised in Italian to them. It's like, all right, you've fair enough, you've redeemed yourself. But when they just, I don't know how they done it. I don't know. To be fair, the memes. I tell you what, actually, we slammed F1 Twitter. Whenever something like this happens, the memes are fantastic. It was like there was like one of them. It was like don't want tire degradate dead. How do you say it again? Degradation. Why can't I say degradation? Why can't I say it? Yeah, if you don't want your tyres to degrade, just don't consent to it. Your tyres can't legally degrade without your consent. And it's a photo of Charles Leclerc. It's just brilliant. It's just fantastic. I just found that in my camera roll. I was like, yeah, they'll just pop up at weird times. What is there any other symbolic Ferrari like races we've got left? I don't think so. I think that's we've not got Baku still. Where's Azerbaijan? Yeah. Why does every driver become suddenly fluent in Italian when they sign for Ferrari? But how do they do it? How do you just become fluent? Yeah, they do. And? Huh? Offended two nations there? It's not easy. Hey, Ollie? What? Hold on. Mate, I think you're... Mate, I don't even think they're close. Hold on, I'm looking at this. Alright, you look at it, because I don't even think they're close. But yeah, it always baffles me because Vettel became like fluent in Italian. Sainz is basically fluent in Italian, and then Leclerc literally whips out a whole paragraph. And are they actually similar? Seriously? Never reviewed. Right. So you couldn't have an Italian and a French person just speaking to each other in their native language. They'd have to adapt it slightly. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically how French have masculine and feminine for everything. I don't think Italian does. Oh, I'm learning French. But yeah, I facts. I think I just think it was such a weird race weekend considering what it could have been. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy with Leclerc winning, and like, I just for seeing Ferrari win there is incredible. But there is, how important something is if it's spoken about more than the overall winner. And the McLaren blunder this weekend, I think, will come back to haunt them. And I think when we look back on the end of this season, I think we will say Monza was a turning point because it'll either be a turning point for when McLaren fully lost it, or it will be a turning point for when they actually got their act together and put their foot down on how they want this to go. Because you can, like I said, you can either keep half caring about it and have, oh, Oscar, you can win this week. Oh, Lando, you can win this week. You guys can fight, yay. Or you go, right, listen here, you children. Lando's in front, stay there. Oscar's in front, stay there. Keep the Red Bull behind. We'll do it that way. Because otherwise, they'll never get anything out of it. And like I said, this is going to be a turning point. And with 8 rounds to go, I think they've thrown it away. I don't see how. I seriously, I still think the gap's too big, and unless they have, I mean, everyone in the paddock can see it. Like I said, if you've got Will Buxton and Nico Rosberg grilling you about how your team is not being run properly, well, it's not being run properly, but how it's not being managed during a race properly, you're finished. You're never winning. You're never winning a drivers' championship. You may win the constructors, but not if you carry on like that. So I think they've thrown it away personally. I seriously do. Oh, driver of the day. Driver of the day. That's one answer. Facts. Oh no! You know what? Actually, sorry. Yes, I know what you're going to say. There was there. We said F1 Twitter has ruined F1. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. You know what ruins F1? None of this drive to survive. I saw this tweet earlier. None of this drive to survive. None of the whole he's better than him. He's why he can't drive. You know what ruins F1? Taking out K-Mag Torpedo. All right, getting him race back, getting this absolute machine of a wacky racer away from F1 kills it. Why is it that I've now got to sit through the next Grand Prix without any replay of Kevin Magnussen absolutely sending it down the inside of someone's side pod? Why have we now got to take that away from it? That was the only thing that was going for us through half of this year, and they've killed it. You can kill the man, but not the idea. Someone will rise. Hulkenberg is about to perform genocide. All right, it's gonna be incredible. All right, and I cannot wait for it. There's gonna be serious change. K-Mag is my driver of the day. I want free up my guy. He did nothing wrong. End of. See you later. I'll end it there. Hashtag Justin K-Mag. Get it trending. Run it back.